The red pill has gone too far. Now look, in this video, I'm going to dispel 3 myths that the red pill community and red pill gurus like to feed young men like me and you, and I'm going to actually help you distinguish what the bullshit is from what the grains of truth are. And now listen, I love the red pill as it is meant to be, right? I think its teachings of intersexual dynamics and evolutionary psychology are absolutely necessary for any young man navigating the dating market. And I think that consuming the red pill and gaining this new perspective on human nature and the nature of women and the nature of men in relationships, I think this is invaluable knowledge. And at the end of the day, I actually think that the red pill, as it's meant to be, actually creates a world that's better for women, that leads to women having more fulfilling relationships. But here's the problem. Red pill gurus only want to profit off of the suffering of young men. So they feed you these extremist views. They feed you this content that makes you hate women rather than just understanding women for how they are. Now, myth number 1. All women are bad and they will never actually love you. Now, this is just complete bullshit, and I hear it a lot around red pill circles. And listen, there is actually some grain of truth to the statement, right? Surprisingly. But the problem is that the actual grain of truth has been clouded with this hostile and targeted language to basically polarize men and women, to make men hate women and view them in a way that is just not conducive to actual healthy relationships and a good dating life. Okay, so what's the grain of truth to the statement? Well, let's extract it for a second. Well, the grain of truth is that women's love is actually conditional. It is very rare that you have a romantic partner who will simply love you unconditionally, right? This doesn't happen very often. And now this is based in evolutionary psychology. It is not something to get mad about. It is not something to cry about. It is not something to, start hating women for. It is in their nature. Just like it is in our nature to, want to spread our seed everywhere. Women should not hate men for this tendency, for this proclivity. I think it's just how it is, right? And this conditional love is rooted in the fundamental intersexual dynamics principle of hypergamy. Women are naturally inclined to seek out and pursue the highest value man that they have access to. Most men immediately assume that this means that if you aren't 6 foot, if you aren't rich, and you aren't handsome, you have no chance to actually acquire a beautiful woman. Just because a man fulfills this criteria, just because he's 6 foot, just because he's loaded, just because he's very good looking, does not mean a woman will love him. It definitely doesn't mean a woman will sleep with him. This is because women, to sleep with a man and to actually develop feelings for a man, require a lot more qualities than these superficial aspects, right? Just because you've been fed that value is directly correlated with your power, your status, and your wealth and your looks doesn't mean that this is the way women necessarily perceive value. And this is where the whole concept of game comes from, right? You'll see men who are subpar looking, dating beautiful women all of the time. And then you have to ask yourself, well, how is it that these women are actually in happy relationships with these ugly men? The answer is because these men are literally perceived by that woman to be high value. It's the woman's perception of value, not your perception of value. The same goes for the distinction between like the male and female gaze. Like there is a difference between what males think women want and what women actually want. So in order to find a beautiful woman and have her fall in love with you and have a healthy relationship with her, you need to be able to express to her in some way that you are higher value than those around her or those other men who she may or may not have access to. So long story short, women definitely can love you. Women definitely fall in love. Women are not all bad, right? Just because they have this this nature inside of them to pursue the highest value male, right? AKA hypergamy, does not mean that if you aren't, in the top 0.00001%, you cannot find yourself a beautiful woman. Okay, myth number 2. Men should always be emotionally unavailable in relationships. Now here's the thing. Men absolutely should not cry in front of their girlfriend. Men should not be expressing all of their problems to their girlfriend. Men should not be using their girlfriend as their therapist. That is the last thing you want to do. But if your girlfriend is struggling, right? Maybe she's depressed, maybe she experienced a failure, maybe she experienced a loss. You as a man, it is your responsibility to be the rock, to be the tree that stands tall in the storm, right? If your woman is struggling and needs someone to hold on to, needs someone to be emotionally stable in that moment, you should be able to withstand those emotions with her without being absolutely consumed by them and crying and all that. You should be able to have mastery over your emotions. So whenever you're sad and whenever you feel grief or whenever you feel like this, and your woman does, and she's crying, You should be able to be kind. You should be able to be gentle. You should be able to be soft. And this, of course, requires some emotional vulnerability, some emotional availability. You need to be able to receive her emotional storm that she may be having, and you should be able to stand tall in it. Essentially, the message of being emotionally unavailable comes from the idea that if you're an asshole and you never sort of express your feelings or never, that she is going to just fall in love with you. This is fundamentally wrong. And it may be right whenever it comes to like getting laid or, casual hookups. But if it comes to actually finding a girl that you want to be in a relationship with, emotions are necessary. Emotional vulnerability is honestly one of the only ways that humans can actually form true connection. So you will never actually form a true connection with a woman if you just have this brick wall all the time. And again, do not think that I'm saying you need to cry. No crying should be involved, right? Unless there's extreme circumstances, right? You should not cry in front of your girlfriend, and you should not express your problems to your girlfriend. But you should be able to be gentle. You should be able to be soft. You should be able to be kind. You should be able to be sweet. You shouldn't always be an asshole and have this masculine and machismo persona, right? And again, this goes back to the fact that women crave emotional connection. This also goes back to how important it is for men to be able to master their emotions, to have control over their emotions. If they're in an emotionally volatile position, they should be able to control themselves. Myth number 3, if you aren't in the top 1% of men, you will never find a beautiful woman. Again, this is absolute bullshit, right? We all of the time see broke, ugly men with beautiful women, right? And these women are absolutely enamored with them. That guy is obviously not in the top 1%. So how is it that he could attract and have a woman that beautiful fall in love with him? Well, this is because in her eyes, he is the highest value man that she has access to. It's her perception. It's not what you perceive, right? It's her perception. This is why you should always believe that you are the highest value individual that a woman can have, right? You should always be improving yourself. You should always know that you have the potential to be the highest value man, and you need to act like it. You need to embrace that confidence as if you are already in the top 1%. Because that confidence, real or fake, is going to literally tell her and signal to her that you are high value. I'm not saying that you shouldn't improve yourself. On the contrary, I think every man should make an incredible effort to improve himself and get as close to the top 1% of men as possible, right? Because even if that's not what necessarily matters the most, I think it makes the dating game much, much easier. So anyway, guys, that was 3 myths of the red pill that I wanted to dispel, and I hope that you gained some clarity. If you would like any more talk on dating or relationships, just let me know in the comments. And of course, I will leave a link to my free newsletter in the description. Thank you all for watching.